Hi guys, and welcome back to another episode of We Have F***ed Up the GT40. Yes, I'm beeping this for the actual reason that we definitely have gone too far, and now I have £18,000 worth of pure scrap. Very good, very nice. Very broke, very broke.
Ready? Let's go.
I'm gonna skip my breaks, I'm gonna make mistakes. I'm gonna skip my breaks, I'm gonna make mistakes. I'm gonna skip my breaks, I'm gonna make mistakes. Look at beautiful stars, I wanna drive a faster car.
We have put it back together. We've been working with our lovely pals at Tornado. Thank you, Andy, you legend. And we have a front chassis unit. And on the last episode, we cut off the front. We are back to some cool stuff. I understand we are still cutting some stuff apart, but on this part, we're going to be slicing that front end off, which is a big KVA front end. We're going to slice that off, and then we're going to slide this in place, and we're going to tack it into place. And by tacking in place, we are not measuring it. We have a jig table, which is a completely flat, solid 20mm sheet of steel. We're going to basically mount the chassis of the GT40 on it, tack it in place, level it 100%, and then we will level our front chassis to make sure it's perfect, and then weld it properly. In this case, in this video, in this overextended, not normal, boring video, we're going to cut the front chassis off, okay? We're going to tack this one on.
We're essentially going to do a dry fit, what I would call a dry fit.
As opposed to an unlubed fit, is what you're trying to say.
Yeah, we're not a wet fit, a dry fit.
A moist fit.
A moist fit, no, a dry fit.
Let's do it, let's do it, let's do it! So right, while he's doing that, I'm going to undo these 8mm bolts that hold this, basically an aluminium sheet underneath, so we don't hit the, it's basically to keep the air and the wind circulating. I'm going to throw a camera over there on Josh, while I lay underneath and start undoing some other stuff.
I'm just going to have a little grind, clean some of this end of this up, and then in a minute we'll change the grind. We're cutting this straight through the front of our chassis and take off the last piece. That should be
Let's have it!
On the front anyway.
And the flout, and the flout!
Ready? Let's go.
Okay, so hopefully with a screwdriver of some variety, just relatively kind of level, kind of not, but yeah. Right, that piece there, out of the way. What I didn't want to do is go cutting too far into the chassis, so that I don't know where my level line is. And obviously the base plate here we've got is a stainless steel sheet, and I didn't want to go cutting into that. So after listening to what Josh said earlier, cutting a bit of box section away gives you a bit more space to look into what you're doing. Very important. Right, so guys, on this part we're cutting the front of the chassis off so we can move our new piece of chassis in the hole.
Do you want me to?
I'll finish.
Do one side first, or not?
Yes, do one side first.
Right.
I think I'm enjoying doing some actual work. The battery is flattery. So we're cutting off at the bulkhead, guys, right here, because that is where we've been instructed by Tornado to mount our new chassis, which is right behind you. Right here, right there. Yeah, boy. I had to open this much up so I can cut in here, because what I don't want to do is cut through our stainless sheet, which is our floor protector, and our aerodynamics section. We got some Wilwood brake pedal here, which is quite cool. Clutch and master cylinder, all Wilwood. I mean, they're a few £100 now if you want to replace them, so that's handy Harry.
Handy, handy. Right, bit more noise, he says, as the battery dies. Oh, for goodness sake.
That's depressing.
Time for a commercial break.
So some of the bolts won't undo because they're a 8mm, but I'm using a multi-spline and the heads are slightly round off, so I'm using a 6-sided socket. There's never to the madness. Oh! There we have it.
Oh. Right, let's try this one, shall we?
Look at this.
Yeah.
It's all down.
Terrific, well done.
I did something.
I'm very proud of you, Samuel.
I hope so.
I'm very proud of you, Samuel Hart. Thank you very much.
think you're going to need a considerably bigger blade.
I think you're very much correct.
Now things are going to get worse because we're still cutting stuff off. I'm going to move the camera a bit more centrally so you can see what we're doing. We're trying to get that big piece of chassis off.
Basically the front A-frame.
Yeah, so we can mount this new section.
The Tornado front end has its own A-frame. So that means we have to remove ours in order to weld our new one on.
Right, so we get a Filipino. There must have been method to the madness.
In my experience there usually is. Oh. Okay.
Center console!
Very nice.
Look at that!
Very nice.
Very good, very nice! Very broke, very broke.
We're not using that.
What? There's our chassis. Look at this. Brum brum section.
Right. Grinder! Oh, for goodness sakes.
On that note,
We are having a battery emergency.
this is the stuff people aren't bothered about watching.
Given the way you're talking, I'm assuming that you're planning on time-lapsing this.
Beep, 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 beep.
Yep. I knew that was going to happen. That was right. Oh! It's so violent! Hang on.
Go wiggle.
Wiggly, wiggly.
Wiggle, wiggle.
And that's the name.
For sure.
Just a little bit.
So, 5 hours. 5 very long, tedious, boring, grinding hours of not seeing our children to remove this, okay? This big chunk of metal has been getting in the way of our family life.
Yeah, it's not,
So-
not a very good excuse,
No.
is it?
So, darling, I won't be home tonight because I chopped this off a car.
Well,
that's all we do.
I've got my head in some box.
So are we going to add that to the rest of our...
This we're going to file.
File it under, hang on,
File.
B1N. So basically, this is what we've got to.
Are you satisfied knowing that that owes you best part of £18,000?
18 grand there, guys. You know, I think I made some bad decisions in my life. Don't think my hair on my Ugg boots was one of them. This may have been one of them. But you know what, mate? We started off with something, and we knew we had a project.
Yeah, yeah.
Not as big a project as we expected, but Josh has been very busy. I've been working at the British Motor Show. I'm going to cut now to what Josh has been up to, and then we're going to take you inside, and I'm going to show you what you've been doing, because it's going back together. Let's go back together.
It will amaze you how much work you can get on with in a few hours on your own.
Roll VT.
Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Make or Break. It's a little bit different this week because for the last few days Sam's been away at the British Motor Show, and as you can probably see from behind me, while he's been away I have been up to an awful lot of jobs on the GT40 build. So as you can see straight from the start, the ramp that it was on is gone, and we've now got it on a solid flat building table, which will help me and Sam to be able to get all of our measurements to make sure that all of the chassis work that we do from here on out will be perfectly flat, level, dead square. We'll be able to get all of our angles from the original chassis of the car when we start mounting all the front. That's one thing. The second thing is I've gone through and I've removed all the fuel tanks after our little bit of disagreement in the last 2 episodes ago, I think it was, when Sam was grinding without having anything over the top of the fuel cap. So I've got rid of those, they're out of the way. They need to be out of the way anyway because there's some cutting that needs to be done down at the front. So yeah, I've got it all turned around. We've started prepping, getting all the front up. I've got the car mounted now onto the table. It's all sort of tacked in place. So as and when we do any sort of cutting and fabricating and welding to the original chassis of the car, nothing's going to move or twist or distort to alter any of the measurements that we already have. Today I'm going to finish off the test fitting and mock fitting of the front suspension, what we have at the front suspension. it will have to come off again at a later date because there's some welding that needs to be done behind. So for ease of access, they'll all be coming back off afterwards, but it's just nice to better test fit them. I needed to test fit the front so that I can get the, I'll show you. Obviously, where the front axle mounts in relation to the rest of the car is absolutely imperative. The distance between what will be the rear wheel, which obviously isn't on there at the moment, and the front wheel needs to be correct as per sort of the blueprints of the car, or else when we put the body on, the front wheel will not be right in the arch. Obviously I haven't got the back wheel, so I've had to go from a datum point on the car, which for this I've used the trailing arm mount, which is here. I've gone straight off of that, you can't really see that, but I've gone straight off of that and come down and measured to the stub axle, which is 1.6. I've then run a straight line through when the wheel was straight and gone to the other side and got that square as well. So the front end currently, as you can see, is just tacked on to the end of the seal piece, both sides where it was. So that's where it will meet. We've got some bars that got to be put through here, but I've got to take some metal work away from the original seal piece so that those new bars can fit through. We've got to take the dash panel, the rest of the dash panel off, and then the new dash panel will fit slightly further forward than the old dash panel because it's a slightly different design, and then all of these tying top pieces will be able to come through. So I'm going to have a look at that today. Yeah, so it's amazing how much work gets done when Sam's not here. So yeah, it's just going to be me today. So if you've tuned in looking forward to seeing Sam's yellow hair and listening to him talk philosophically about thoughts and feelings about the car, you're going to be disappointed because it's just me. Okay, so I'm going to take the camera around here and we're going to set this front suspension up. It's already been put together, it's just down below the bench. So all we're going to have I've pre-bolted the front end, so we have our top wishbone, our bottom wishbone, our tie rod for our steering arm, and our hub and our stub axle all sort of just loosely bolted together, just so that I can get my measurements. And it is as simple as these 4 nuts and bolts. Just hang straight off of these 4 brackets. Andy of Tornado's really made this so much easier. So just run it through there. What a really lovely, simple fit. It's just 4 bolts, and the front end is just as easy as that. I think we will be reusing the steering rack that we took out from the car, which I believe is Cortina. I think the mounting brackets that Tornado put in and the tie arms, the holes in the tie arms are all, I'm pretty sure they are tailor-made for that Cortina rack. So for the sake of saving a little bit of money, we're just going to reuse the rack that we've got. There's nothing wrong with it. It's a perfectly good, perfectly nice steering rack to use. And then all I'm going to do is we haven't got our uprights, our suspension yet. So for the time being, just to get our height, I'm just going to cable tie between the top and bottom mounts for the suspension, just to be able to hold those wishbones up off of the table. It may look somewhat crude, but it works. Again, our ride height's all dependent on our suspension, so it's not the end of the world. All that matters at the moment is making sure that the line of this bottom chassis follows exactly the same line as our sill piece, which is the idea of propping it all up. The car's propped up on 4 pieces of box section. The table was all squared and dead level. And all we've done is marked a centre line that runs straight through the middle of the table and line that centre line up with the centre line of the car. And then I've run some sort of measurements diagonally to work out how far right or how far left the front end needed to be. Obviously, all of that needs to be dead symmetrical, because if it's not dead symmetrical, the car's going to drive crap down the road. There are certain things that you can adjust out. You can adjust its sort of toe in and toe out. You can adjust its camber. But if the front end is pointing to the right and the back end is going straight, the car's never going to drive any good. So it's an awful lot of measuring and not a lot of cutting and welding when you're sort of rebuilding the front end of a car. So you're going to see an awful lot of that. You're going to see an awful lot of me, and in the next few episodes, Sam as well, measuring certain things and measuring them again and measuring them again. And I'll measure something, I'll cut something, I'll tack it, and then I'll measure it again to make sure nothing's moved. It's absolutely imperative that this sort of stage of the build, that everything is put on and measured, and it's all dead right and dead square. We've got a set of measurements, a set of blueprints that we can follow. We've got a guidebook, as we mentioned in the last few episodes, that was kindly lent to us by Andy at Tornado. So it's going to make life a lot easier, this whole new front end. We could have made a front end, but we want to get the car done realistically. So I think this fabricated front end was definitely the right way to go. So I commend Sam for putting his hand in his pocket and going and buying it. So make life a hell of a lot easier, and hopefully by the time he gets back from the motor show and he's having a few days off with his family, he'll be able to come in the workshop and his reaction should be quite positive. I hope he's not going to come here and go, "Oh my God, Josh, what have you done?" But you never know. You never know. So yeah, there's our front suspension. Obviously, say it's minus our steering rack and it's minus our front coilovers. We're going to get some brakes made, I believe. Sam told me the other day that we've got a company that are going to make our brakes, so I haven't got to worry too much about that. It's fairly simple anyway. We've got our flexi mount there for our flexible hose, and it will just run straight to a disc and caliper carrier, which will mount to the hubs. And then once we've got our steering rack and we've got our front hubs in, then the front is kind of there. Obviously we've got to weld everything up, and we've got to sort of, at the moment everything's just tacked, but that's just a process of me sitting with a MIG welder and welding everything up and grinding everything off. But I don't want to weld too much too soon, because we haven't got the front clam here, so I need to make some mounts to hold the hinge for the front clam. I need to make sure that it all's going to shut with the bulkhead piece that we've got. So for the moment it's all going to stay tacked, none of it's going to move, it's all fairly rigid. It's one of those, I could weld it all up and then we could go and get the body and start mounting everything and put the bulkhead back together and find out that nothing fits, because this is a GT40, it's a Mark III, and obviously most of the kit forms that you can go and buy are all Mark II, and there are some subtle differences, so it does need to be made aware of all of the time with everything we do. I've noticed straight away the dash panel that we've got, it's got some steering column mounts, so I was just going to find it. So these steering column mounts that we have here, they are sort of jigged and welded on in place that they would be dead in the right place on a Mark II GT40. But obviously our car is a Mark III and our seating position is further inboard. So this is going to need to come off, it's going to need to be remeasured with the seating position that we've got, and it's going to have to be over slightly, because at the moment our steering column is going to be back in the same place that it was when we took the car apart. And if you look in the earlier videos, you'll notice that the steering wheel wasn't square to the seat, it wasn't straight, and the driving position was slightly off, so we want to try and rectify that. So hopefully we can. We definitely can. So time to go to work. I'm going to be cleaning off some of this and taking off this upright, and hopefully that upright for our dash panel, and hopefully start to measure and get our dash panel in place. So here we go. One dash panel gone. on to the other one. One of these days we're going to do an episode and I'm not going to cut a piece of car off. Hopefully sometime soon.
On that note, I'm going to let Josh get back to work. Looking forward to seeing you next week on another episode. See you later. Quick reminder, hit that subscribe button, the like button, and then the bell button, so you get alerts when we release new episodes, and follow us on social media too for extra stuff and more alerts about videos we're releasing, which at the moment is every Sunday and the odd Wednesday too. Bye for now.